Well, welcome to another amazing show. I'm so excited you decided to join us. My name is Jay Connor, also known as the Private Money Authority. I'm the host of the show. And today I have got just an exciting and amazing guest that's going to be talking about a subject that you might not be that familiar with. Well, my guest brings social good into smart investing. So, what in the world does that mean? Well, he's renowned and he's known as a thought leader in the mortgage note investing industry. He's compassionate, he's genuine, he's loyal, he's my kind of friend. Now, together with his business partner, Sean, they co founded a company called Bequest Funds with the dual purpose of helping investors like yourself grow their wealth and helping mortgage borrowers stay in their homes. And boy, aren't we excited to talk about how you're going to help mortgage borrowers stay in their home. He's a successful entrepreneur. He's been investing in real estate now for over 15 years. And check this out. He has directly helped over 1,000 families stay in their homes and countless more through the influence of his mentorship and his training. And with that, I'm so excited to introduce and bring on to the show right now, Martin Saenz. Martin, welcome to the show.
Jay, thank you for having me. What an amazing introduction. My goodness. I mean, the best I've ever heard. Good for you.
Well, it's easy to do a great introduction when you got a great guest with great experience and a heart like you have as well. So, Martin, before we get into mortgage note investing and helping people stay in their homes and all that kind of stuff, tell us your backstory. How did you get into real estate?
Yeah, I think my backstory is just I did everything wrong to get to the point where I'm at now. And so just a series of missteps. So in 2004, my wife and I, we quit our corporate jobs. We went looking to start our own company, search for financial freedom. So we launched a government contracting company in the DC area where we sold goods and services to the federal government. And, that we definitely learned a lot of lifelong lessons over getting that launched. And we started buying commercial and residential properties in 2009. Our first purchase was a commercial building we operated the company out of. And however, I wasn't really in alignment with what my passion was and where my heart was, and I was really just about chasing dollars and cents. And it wasn't until 2013 when we sold our government contracting company and held on to our properties that I ran into mortgage note investing. And what that is, simply put, is I launched a hedge fund that purchases distressed mortgages from banks and other financial institutions at a discount. And I connect with the homeowner in a humane way and work out a payment plan to help keep them in their home.
So there's the connection right there about how you're using mortgage note investing and helping people stay in their homes. That was going to be one of my first questions. So you have a fund, and I suppose you have private lenders and individuals that invest in that fund, correct?
Yes. So actually, we're set up two ways. We have a private fund, my partner Sean and myself, and in that fund we have about 35 million in mortgages under management. There are no investors in that fund. We own that fund outright. And what we did in a few years ago is we launched Bequest Income Fund, which is a second entity as a 506c Reg D, where we did take investor dollars in, and we do pay out investors on a monthly basis.
I got you. So what got you interested? I mean, there's 100 different ways to get involved in real estate investing, from single family houses to, self-storage, to land, to commercial, to shopping centers, to you name it. But then there's notes. There's investing in notes. And in your case, investing in distressed notes. First of all, please define what is a distressed note.
Sure. It's a mortgage that is in default anywhere beyond 90 days. So the homeowner has not made a payment and is past due from 91 days and beyond. And in most cases, we're buying mortgages that are 4 or 5 years in default in our private fund. Now, once we connect with the homeowner, figure out where they're at currently, because these are good individuals. I mean, these are people that they got a loan at Wells Fargo, Deutsche Bank, PNC, and they just ran upon a hard time, like a divorce or a health issue. And they're back on their feet. You know, people get back on their feet over time. And so it's our job to really connect with them, be compassionate. And since we purchased that mortgage at a discount, we're able to make concessions to work out a payment plan that works for both the homeowner as well as ourselves from a profit standpoint.
So when you connect with a homeowner, or you purchase a note, rather, I should say, obviously, I would assume you're not going to be connecting with the homeowner until you have purchased the note, because you really don't have an interest per se, a financial interest in that property until you purchase the note, correct?
That's correct. In our industry, and I outlined this in my first book, Note Investing Made Easier. And so what I suggested is there's 4 phases to the note investing industry. The first phase is sourcing. So what you do from an acquisition standpoint, building deep-rooted relationships, going to conferences, and then receiving in opportunities. And then the second phase is due diligence. So you have to have a streamlined due diligence process whereby you're doing credit report risk analysis, you're doing skip tracing, bankruptcy searches, title reports, evaluations, and just a whole host of other, data scrubbing to come to a determination as to what the underlying collateral is worth, as well as who the homeowner is and their ability to pay. And this is all before you purchase the note and without having spoken to the homeowner.
Very interesting. So one thing you said a moment ago is that, you may at some time or another, you may purchase a note, a distressed note, and the people may be behind on their payments 4 or 5 years. So why would the lender not have foreclosed in that long period of time?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of my sarcasm, but like, why is the sky blue? I mean, why do banks do what they do? I mean, you can go into they've written off these loans through internal charge-offs. They don't want the PR behind foreclosing on properties. Their business model is not set up to foreclose and take back properties. They're in the business to lend money. So they just let it sit on their balance sheet, and eventually they'll pool it together with other distressed mortgages and sell it off to a company like ours.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, unless the lender that's holding that mortgage has gone through the foreclosure process, then they can't sell it as bank owned. Their only other recourse or liquidation of that asset is to sell the note, right?
Correct. And think about it from a bank's perspective. They have a lot of restrictions from a regulatory standpoint with Fannie and Freddie, especially if these are government sponsored mortgages. They also have restrictions from a shareholder standpoint in terms of fiduciary responsibilities. But for someone like our company, we can buy these mortgages and we can be as creative as possible to come up with the best solution for the homeowner. Because at the end, if you don't come up with a payment plan that the homeowner can afford, it's not sustainable.
Absolutely. So my next question, I'm sure your answer is going to be, well, it's all over the board. So I'll ask for a range. What kind of a discount can you buy these notes at?
Sure. So I'll answer it 2 ways. We buy non-performing mortgages anywhere from 20 cents up to 75, 80 cents on the dollar.
Well, that is a broad range.
And so, yeah, so it's no 2 mortgages are the same, right? It's the same thing in the private money space. Same thing in, rehab, everything else. Like, no two pieces of paper are the same. It's, it's a different homeowner. They have a different job. They have different spending habits. They have different, taste, and they have, one's a hoarder, one's not. And so just everyone's very different. So you really have to look at what the data is telling you to assign a price, plus what's the equity coverage, with the underlining value of the property. Now, when we buy mortgages into Bequest funds, that's an income fund. So we only buy re-performing, re-seasoned mortgages into the income fund after they've been modified and they're paying on time for a year, 2 years, they're back on track. We buy them in at a 11 to 12% yield, which comes out to about a 65 cent on the dollar purchase.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So when you buy a distressed mortgage at a discount, you then, since you own that mortgage, you have a choice of, you could either try to do a workout with the homeowner, and if that doesn't work out, then your other recourse or plan would be to just foreclose.
Correct. And on our distress note side, we foreclose less than 1% of the time.
Wow.
So that number was significantly higher 10 years ago, but it's dropped down significantly now, based on the refi boom, and which is probably coming to an end, by the way. But based on people's wealth effects, people are refinancing us out when we come to the table with them. But all in all, our entire business model is built on compassion and transparency, so that we're looking at what the homeowner can afford. We're seeing what we paid for it. We're understanding what we need to see in terms of returns, and we're trying to meet in the middle so that everyone wins. And not only that, we treat homeowners like paying customers, because they provide us cash flow. They pay our payroll and everything else. So we treat them like gold. And what we find is, like in any real estate sector, right? You treat someone well, and you treat them fairly, and guess what? The likelihood of them paying is better.
Right. Well, if you are having since you are having now a less than 1% foreclosure rate on those notes that you're purchasing, then I would assume, therefore this is a question, I would assume you have a way of determining what that owner can afford to pay per month before you buy the note.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more involved than that. So and we have everything placed into buckets. So there's some buckets where we don't want to go through the expense of filing foreclosure. There's other buckets that we do file foreclosure. Or we have different timelines with how we do different activities. But the one thing we try to do is we try to instill a significant borrower outreach with all our legal effort. So even if we do file foreclosure, we're really trying to send them letters saying, hey, look, we really want to help. We're not let us stop the legal process, let us help you. And that's how we come across.
Gotcha. Well, you've got the same outlook that myself and my team is I don't want to be involved in any type of transaction unless it truly is a win-win-win where, everybody all around, are winning. So in layman, really, really simple terms, which I'm going to ask you to answer a complicated question with a simple answer, which is really not fair, but you can probably pull it off. What are some of the criteria checkbox that once you check this box, you check this box, and you check this box, you go, yep, that is a note that I want to buy? What's the buying criteria?
Sure. So first and foremost, you want equity coverage, because your leverage in the whole equation is foreclosure. I mean, let's be real on the non-performing side. So you just want to make sure there's equity coverage. At least, banks operate with 20% equity coverage. Bequest Income Funds operates at 58% equity coverage, because we look at a metric called investment to value instead of loan to value, because we're buying these performing loans in at a discount, not par. And so that's first and foremost. Secondarily, we're looking at credit risk analysis. We're trying to understand who the homeowner is and their ability to pay. Are they paying everyone but us? Are they hyper consumers? Are they, not paying anybody? Then we go do a deep search through title to see, who are there any encumbrances? What lien position are we? Are there any title defects? Things like that. So, and then we also want to look at owner occupied. So we focus on buying mortgages that are owner occupied, not investor driven properties.
Sure. That makes sense. So since there's so many different ways to get into real estate investment, what would you say the benefits are to, say, investing in notes versus like that asset class, note investing? Why note investing versus all the other types of asset classes?
Scalability. So for the first 4 years of operating my business, I modified hundreds of mortgages from Starbucks, where with just my phone and my laptop, and nationwide. So, try doing that on a fix and flip or landlording, from a landlording perspective, and it's more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult. So you can scale up. I mean, right now we have well over 2,000 mortgages on between both our entities. So, and we operate and we manage all those mortgages from one location in Sarasota, Florida. So you really get to be where you want to be, whatever makes you happy. It's not location specific, and you can operate on a nationwide level. And we could easily add 10,000 mortgages to our portfolio. We would have to scale up with some staff, but we have all the systems in place.
Very interesting. So, everything we do when it comes to investing, everything has some level of risk to it, no matter what you're doing, no matter how well you cover your bases. But how risky is note investing, say, compared to some other assets?
I think Kiyosaki always comes to mind. He says the level of risk is measured by your level of ignorance. And so this is a very like nuanced industry, and they call it a shadow industry for a reason. It's there's heavy compliance, and state by state, plus there's some national regulations. There's a servicing component. There's a whole legal component. There's certain ways you need to send your forms out. There's certain training. There's certain licenses, like debt collectors licenses and servicing licenses on a state by state level. So when I started this 10 years ago, it was like the Wild West. There was not really much regulation. You just kind of send out letters and, get some modifications. Now you have to do everything through its proper channels. So one can come into this industry and start a business for themselves, but they just need to know that it's a lot of hard work to get off the ground. But the reward is hundreds, dozens to hundreds to thousands of mortgages that are paying you each and every month for many years on out.
So it really is a long-term wealth building strategy, would you say?
Yeah, it 100%. If we went and just initiated foreclosure on our entire portfolio and took everyone to the auction house, we would stand for a significant gain that year. I mean, we would close out our portfolio. We would do extremely well financially, but that's very short term for us. We are legacy players. We are long term, and we want to see cash flow coming in for 30 years.
Makes a lot of sense. So in this world, or your world of note investing, of course, my niche is private money, raising a lot of private money for our projects. And of course, when I say private money, just to be clear, I'm not talking hard money. I'm not talking institutional money. I'm talking about actually borrowing money from individuals, human beings, from either their investment capital or their retirement funds that they've moved over to a self-directed IRA company. Does that world of private money play into your niche at all?
Yes, from the Bequest funds perspective, where we work with accredited investors, probably about 45% of our investors, we have about 20 million AUM in that fund. About 45% are coming via self-directed IRA funds. So we have a lot of people that come that way. Now they're equity stakeholders in Bequest funds, even though it's paid out like a debt instrument, as in they're getting paid every month, with monthly distributions. But there is one pillar we have in our Bequest funds, PPM, where we can lend out private money, but we don't get, it's not really for us. It's not really our bag, in that there's a churning effect that doesn't really sit with me. It doesn't sit well with me.
Right. When you started out in this 10 years ago, what were one or two of your biggest mistakes that you started out when you started out, that if you knew then what you know now, you wouldn't have done X, Y, or Z?
Oh, goodness. I have to start with treating mortgage note investing like a real estate investor. So I had, years of business selling to the federal government. I had, landlording under my belt at the time I started mortgage note investing. And I thought, in my world, everything was about the underlying collateral, which is the property. Everything's about the condition of the property. And what I learned is that you get what you focus on. So if you're going to focus fully on the collateral through the due diligence process, then you're going to get back the collateral via foreclosure or deed in lieu or what have you. So that's when I started shifting my focus to the homeowner and their ability to pay. So I want to know about, the foreclosure outlook there, but I also want to know, how can I get a loan? What's the likelihood of a loan modification coming in the door?
Gotcha. Well, and you're right. What you focus on expands. What you focus on is what you get back. So when you started focusing on the homeowner, you're focusing on a relationship, which means you're focusing on the long-term benefit versus the short-term benefit.
Yeah, and there's a goodwill component to it as well, not displacing families. Although I have to admit, I didn't think about that part of it when I first started it. It's just once I started modifying, because I used to do everything. I mean, I used to source, do the due diligence, do the workouts, do the portfolio management. We have 20 people that work for us now that do that, but that's what I learned. I learned that, wow, I'm helping these people out. And that was really eye-opening.
Yeah. So you're clearly helping these families. They're able to stay in their home. But I mean, as a whole, I mean, how does that really serve society?
Yeah, so it makes for more financial stability in neighborhoods. So less blighted properties, less vacant properties. When homeowners stay in the properties, they tend to take better care of the properties. And from a macro perspective, from a housing perspective, it serves as well in the same note.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, real estate is a cyclical thing. And boy, who would have guessed what has happened the last 2 years in
Yeah.
this world of real estate and values and all that kind of stuff. I would almost guarantee those notes that you bought prior to 2 years ago, wow, the values of those houses and the equity spread there. I mean, if you had 20%, you got 50% equity spread now. But anyway, when it comes to your niche, are economic turndowns, real estate recessions, how does that play into your niche?
So there's when we have a downturn, there's a spike in distressed inventory. So actually, supply increases and pricing drops. So that's the positive. Now there's always a yin and the yang, right? So the negative is that the workouts are harder. People have less down payment money to put down. There's more instability with the performance of the performing mortgages. So there's more challenges. But at the end of the day, if you're buying correctly and you have daily KPIs that you're holding the team responsible to, then you're going to be okay on, whether there's an upswing or downswing in the market.
That makes sense. Well, if someone is interested in getting started in investing in notes, what's the best advice you would give to a new note investor?
Is to read as many books as you can. That's the first thing I did, was read about 10 books on mortgage note investing, and just learn everything you can. If for the first 20 people to reach out, I'll be happy to mail them a book. My first book, Note Investing Made Easier. You can email me at martin@bqfunds.com, and I'll be happy to send you out a book. And I'm just I am a fanatic over education. I just think that's like the basis for everything. I mean, to run a successful business, to be a successful person, it's all stems from a good, solid education, ongoing education. So this was me writing these books was a give back to my industry that I love.
Yeah, well, you've written a lot of books. I mean, Cash Flow, and your first one here, Note Investing Made Easier, Note Investing Fundamentals, and on and on and on. So, Martin, thank you so much for offering. So for the first 20 people that email Martin, I want to give out that email address one more time. The first 20 people that email Martin, he is going to mail them a book. So that email address, take note, is Martin, MARTIN, at bqfunds.com. That's B as in boy and Q as in Q, bqfunds.com. Email him at Martin, MARTIN, at bqfunds.com, and he is going to mail you a free book, which is pretty phenomenal. So thank you so much for that, Martin. Martin, I've loved having you here on the show, and I'm going to turn it over to you for final comments and final advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one maxim I learned with cash flow investing is to focus on assets that cash flow and that you have control. It's amazing to me how many people are fixated on investments for appreciation. So they're buying Amazon at $100 in hopes it goes to $120 and so on. And that's all a strategy of hope. And I don't think you're really building yourself a strong foundation. So whatever you look to invest in, whether it's yourself or assets you're buying or businesses you're starting, look for the opportunities that provide ongoing cash flow, and then also opportunities where you have a sense of control over the outcome.
Excellent advice, Martin. I got a bonus question. So here's the bonus question. What's one personal habit you have that you cannot live without?
I look at all my accounts every morning. So, I'll go start my day. I try to read 2 pages out of the Bible, and then I'll look at all my accounts. So I keep an updated financial statement. And I think that's a good habit, whether you have money or not, because especially if you don't have money, you want to look at that and just see, you see where you're at. So you're a realist, but also you want to project where you want to go.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I'll tell you, Martin, one of my beliefs is that I don't believe I end up meeting people by accident. And I think you attract people into your life that are like you. I don't know whoever came up with opposites attract. That's the most stupid thing I ever heard. I mean, it's like, I like to hang around people that are like me. And I appreciate you taking your filter off and being transparent, that you start out your day by reading the Bible. So as you said, Martin, it's good to have a fellow believer here on the show as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to come share your expertise and your experience, and for offering your phenomenal book as a gift to the first 20 people that email you. Martin, thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. There you have it, folks. Another amazing episode, and I need your help. If you have found this show to be inspirational, learned something new, I'm going to ask you to share it with one other person in your life that you think they would enjoy by tuning into this show. I really appreciate the likes, the shares, subscribes. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and click or ring that bell so you're notified of our upcoming episodes. And I really appreciate on iTunes and the other platforms the 5-star ratings and reviews. So there you have it. Another episode. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. Here's to taking your business to the next level. And I'll see you right here on the next show.